Hello, I'm back again, 2 days in a row. Thank you very much for all of the views, comments, everything that I got yesterday. Obviously, Brave New World and all. I don't really know what I'm doing. It feels weird having not written a blog post today. I might do a quick one later after the podcast to just sort of say I'm not doing these anymore. Look on YouTube for me in future. But yeah, as I mentioned, I thought tonight's episode I'd do about podcasting, not in any kind of great technical detail. I might do one of them in future, but really I just want to talk about the fact that tonight is podcasting night. I've got all my gear set up just here. I say all of it. There's a microphone, there is the laptop. I said I'd stop doing this, and there is my headphones, and I've got a little cup of tea there as well. Now we do this every Friday night. I say every Friday night, most Friday nights, excuse me, most Friday nights. And yeah, it's one of those things where people say to me, why do you do it? And I'm like, it's not for, there's no financial gain from it. It costs way more than it makes. It's just, I think at the moment, it's to catch up with Kev, Anna and Pab every week and just find out what they're up to and what they're doing, to be honest. For those of you that kind of come to this via Kev promoting me and just talking about me and maybe don't know, we do a podcast each week called, it's MGP, which stands for Mature Gamer Podcast. And we talk about games, film, TV, comics, wrestling now, and Kev's nonsense. And then lately, which prompted this channel, my kind of cartoon life that has slowly but surely unfolded as a bit of a ludicrous thing that I keep experiencing. I think when we started it out, we thought podcasting was the next big thing. Well, it wasn't. It was kind of a thing that was getting big, and lots of people were doing it, and we listened to a lot of them. We thought it might be a fun thing to get into. I think when I started out, I kind of thought it would be really fun to just have loads of people we follow and know on the internet that knew us, and just see what happens from there. I kind of hoped that at some point we'd grow out of sight with all sorts of news and information on. It's my wife there. Say hello, Claire. Yeah, she doesn't. I thought she'd finished in the kitchen for today, not because that's her job. So I thought we'd have like lots of different followers, and that we would just generally be able to go to events, have big meetups, meet people, just generally get into this whole internet thing that lots of people seem to be doing. Really, we were students, we had all the time in the world, we could just kind of do what we want, and we were into IT, and we had the skills and the disposable time and income to do it. We tried to do our comedy one. Lots of you know about Best Thing From and the evolution of that, which was called We're From the Internet. The gaming one we kind of got into because like Kev was quite into mature gaming, and I used to game heavily as a child and a teenager, but hadn't for a little while I'd been a skint student, so it got me back into it. But I don't know, I just kind of hoped that we would start writing articles, reviews, videos and all sorts, and just somehow magic up enough time to become the next massive gaming thing. I think I was a bit delusional. I kind of, over the years, I've massively learned my place. We dabbled with running our own little events. I think, whilst I loved them all, they were awesome to do. MGPX, we did that every year. I think we ran out of time. It would have got bigger and broader and better, but our time got less and less and less as we went on from being students to becoming teachers and doing other bits and bobs. And so as a result, I think the attendance kind of went down slightly. And I think in the end it was a lot of hard work for something that, whilst it was great fun, I don't think enough people were benefiting from. So we didn't do that last year. I don't think we did it the year before either. But anyway, I mean, the long and short of it was, we got into the whole kind of podcasting thing just as a bit of a laugh. And, we've been doing it now for over 6 years, I think. Maybe over 5 years. I've lost track. We're on like episode 100 and... It feels like we've been on episode 185 every week for the past however many weeks, or 285, I forget. I can't even remember. It must be 285. That seems like good maths. But Pab, as every week he tells us what number we're on, it always sounds like the same number to me. We must be nearing our 300th episode by now. And I think right now it is purely just out of habit, to be honest. I think if I didn't do it for a month, I'd miss seeing Kev, Anna and Pab. I'd miss kind of hearing the feedback from people on the internet. I think if we miss a week, people don't tend to ask where it is. So it takes a few weeks for people to start missing us. But it's interesting just knowing that there's people out there that I don't particularly know or haven't ever met who randomly message out of the blue going, where's the show? So I think that's from a bit of a, I don't know, it's not like a vanity thing. It's just more of a, it's just nice knowing that people out there are interested in following the nonsense we get up to. I think a lot of people have over the time we've done it. A lot of people have started their own shows and tried to get into it, but I don't think, unless you're basically admitting you're gonna not do anything for the next 700 Friday nights, then you're never gonna get into a long-standing kind of thing. I think our weekly routine kind of, it has the odd disruption. We had a whole period where Kev was in and out of hospital. We've had loads of periods where I've just not been into it because I was ill or just feeling really sort of down one week or that sort of thing. I think generally speaking, unless there's an event on, we're all pretty much there, although I have the odd week where I go to visit my family or whatever. So it is hard graft to just kind of turn up every single week and not get bored or get disillusioned when people start harassing you. We've all had kind of reviewers who just decide they've got a thing against somebody, and they just give a bad review every week or whatever, and then after a while you kind of, a lot of people would think, well, I'm not going to do it anymore, and I think that takes a lot to overcome. I just kind of went to task with them. It's not, touch wood, I'm fortunate enough that it's not happened that often, which I guess in one way hurts more when it does. But ultimately, if you're worried about people on the internet talking mean things about you, then you might as well just pull out the cable and go to bed, because the internet's not for you if you can't handle meanness. I wrote a big blog post about how podcasting will not make people rich and famous, and I stand by that. I don't think that anyone starting a podcast today is going to struggle to get into the thousands of listeners, any kind of sponsorship deal, any kind of benefits out of it, really. I think at the moment, even we're finding that whilst the numbers are still pretty consistent, we don't get the same level of attention out of it that we used to. I used to be able to get in touch with a Sony or a Microsoft or someone like that and just say, can I review your game? And they'd kind of just be like, oh yeah, nice one, there you go, mate. Off you pop, let us know how it goes. That is still true with most developers, most distributors and all of that. It's just the odd one lately who are kind of like, you don't really fit. I think what's kind of happened is the churn in those businesses is so big, you don't get the consistent, you don't get the fella who you've known for 6 years sorting you out. It's kind of, I'll email Dave. Oh, Dave left 6 months ago. Okay, I'll try the next person, and then I end up finding some random who's been there for a week, and they're probably only planning to be there for another week themselves. And so that's quite interesting, because unless you meet them at an event like Eurogamer and get a business card out of them, they tend to be a little bit sharp with you, or they have to check with their boss, and it's difficult because you don't want to go along going, don't you know who I am? Because that's never going to work. But equally, you can't go in with, I have this many thousand followers, because if they're talking to one of these major YouTubers who do all the videos or about games and get like 5 million views per video and all that sort of thing, then you come along with your few thousand per episode podcast, people are just going to be like, we can't really get the coverage. So I mean, God knows how new people start in that kind of genre. Even other genres, the only things that I ever see picking up, obviously I've got, maybe my finger's not on the pulse as much as it used to be, but I keep an eye on it a lot, and the only ones that ever really seem to leap up the charts have been the type of show like Serial and things like that by I forget what they're called, GNRs, whatever, the American Life people, and then there's the what's it called, Gimlet Media, who do Startup and Mystery Show and all of them things. Well, basically, they bring out these amazing high budget podcasts that are really cool, and then they cancel them because they're too expensive and start a new one. And yeah, they're just in this cycle. They're trying to make a proper, fully fledged business out of this, but they kind of end up falling in the same pattern of all the other podcasters who are probably doing it as a side for their YouTube series or their books or whatever. I think in this scenario, if you're like a Kev, for example, who's got a YouTube channel, he's got several YouTube channels, he's got, you know, his podcast, he's got his books, he's got this, that, and the other, then that kind of works for him. But if you're just doing a podcast week after week, it feels a little bit like, I think it's my sister who said to me, it's like these ham radio people who sit there and, in the geeky 80s stuff, talking into a little hand thing, and, you know, someone 100 miles away will talk. I don't even know how they work. 100 miles away will talk to them because they happen to have one as well. It feels a little bit like that, except there's just a wider reach and people can leave you written reviews abusing you for it. But no, I mean, I'd encourage people to try it. I'd encourage people to learn about it. I think that this platform on YouTube seems obviously more suited to it these days, which is surprising to me. A little bit of me doesn't get why people don't prefer to just have their headphones in and go and do things around the house and while they're on their way to work or whatever. Why putting a video on and using your eyes is somehow better for people. But it is, obviously the stats are there. But I don't know, it's interesting. I kind of feel like I'm coming to this obviously extremely late. People are jumping off of these different platforms in droves, and I'm coming along with my little, like, I'm going to do a vlog. I'm not expecting this to suddenly make me, you know, a mega star over, you know, I say overnight. I don't mean at all, even. But obviously, it'd be lovely if I could get even as much sort of following out of it as the podcast. To be honest, if it done as well as that, if I'm doing this in sort of 6 years' time, and it's leading me to the same sort of things that has. I mean, we've gone to loads of mental things like that. BAFTA, for example. You know, we get into Comic-Con and Eurogamer and all that with it. It's just linked me to loads of awesome people. So I'm hoping this will be the same sort of thing. I like randomly getting messages from people that do ridiculous things and they tell me all about it. And, you know, it's just bizarre. So, yeah, fingers crossed. This hasn't been maybe as coherent as I wanted it to be tonight. But video 2, pretty much done and dusted. And I'm happy with that. But, yeah, long and short of it, all you need to do a podcast is pretty much all you need to do a YouTube series. It's you know, something to film yourself on for YouTube or something to record your voice on for podcast, and somewhere to wang it on the internet, which is for us Spreaker, and obviously YouTube for this. So yeah, it just seems. Lots of people in the comments said, "Oh, I don't think I could do it. Just get a camera and do it. We can do the journey together. We can see who reaches 100, 1,000, a million, you know, first." Hopefully it's me. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow.